see all the fish? Can you see the fish? Misbehave.
Now what I'll do is I'll start that netting and tag and I'll make my way down here. I'd like to go try and feed the crayfish or the fish. The best way to try and feed the crays is you can actually reach them. We've got about, I think we've got 5 in here at the moment. One of them got eaten the other day. They tend to, if there's a weak one in the group and one of them takes a bite out of it, then they tend to just kill it. They're pretty fussy eaters and we've tried a lot of different things. We've tried live goldfish.
Don't fear one.
Push your way through, Helen. You can't do jungle.
They've just grown from little bugs.
The next job is to come around and cut off all these little...
And the idea is to just...
See, all these canes with the fruit on them, well, most of them are cut off.
hair, smile.
I like that.
There's something up at the bar here.
It's all on, ready to go, John? Well, your dad was... Is it on?
Well, we stopped at the Warriora Cemetery, just out of Whangarei, and I'm looking down into the valley to which the McKinnon family, John, Jane, and their eldest son James, who was carried in a kit from Whangarei about 7 miles away. We look from Cemetery Hill down onto part of their original holding. And part of that original holding was farmed by my parents from 1920 to about 1930. And as I look a little bit further, in the background I can see a mountain, a treetop mountain, and at the foot of that mountain we shifted to another farm in 1930. So this is a very appropriate place for Grandma, my mother, and John's grandmother, Donald's and Jane Chris's great-grandmother. Here she lies with her mother and with her grandparents, John and Jane McKinnon, who travelled the road down below us, by foot of course, in 1859. So began their association with this district. It's appropriate too because just out of sight from the little hill in front of us now was the farmhouse in which my mother's mother, my grandmother, she was married from there. Mother was born there and she returned there as a bride. It so happened that in 1918, my paternal grandparents, who were in the hotel trade, bought a farm down in front of us here, and grandmother apparently moved up while grandfather was endeavouring to dispose of his hotel interests. And the Great War finished in 1918, and my father returned from that war and came up here to see his mother and his youngest brother who was here with her. He liked what he saw and he bought the adjoining farm, and that's the farm to which mother later returned as a bride. Father went off down the Horahora River to get some fencing posts and came back with not only fencing posts but eventually with a bride. And that's why we're all here today. The McKinnons arrived in Auckland in 1859 and they transshipped to a coastal vessel. They ran into a pretty terrific storm on the way up and they had to shelter for the best part of a week off the entrance to the Whangarei Harbour in the Hen and Chicken Islands. So one can imagine how glad they were to be ashore once again. Perhaps that's the reason, although we're in Auckland, they had to deal with the choice of whether they took a paid position in in Dunedin. John Mackinnon's trade was a millwright. He came from the Isle of Arran in Scotland. He was sent to Belfast in Northern Ireland to do a job, and whether it was because he'd decided to come to New Zealand, we don't know, but he married Jane Ferguson, who was quite a bit younger than he was, and they came on out to New Zealand. On arrival, he was offered this job in Dunedin, but he chose instead to take up the land grants which were available to him, and that's the reason why we're in this district now.
That's very interesting. Well, history is so interesting, isn't it?
So we're going to be 6 generations here.
Isn't that, yeah.
But Janet was the wife of Thomas Ernest Jones, like the side by side. Well, this is the grave of John and Jane Mackinnon, who must have been amongst the earliest settlers here in the Whare block, after it was purchased from the Maoris. And if you can read the inscriptions, John Mackinnon, who died in 1899, aged 90, and also Jane Mackinnon, who died in 1918, is it? Age 76. There's probably about 30 years difference in age there. But if you look at the figure 90, which will appear again on Olive Harris's little plaque, we have got some longevity genes to count on, perhaps. Well, ahead of us is the Brunavon School. First of all, Brunavon was a name coined by the Jones family, and the school was also built by the Jones family with timber pit sawn on their farm up ahead of us. And the trade training of the Joneses came in useful in the building. Grandma Olive Harris, née Jones, was among the foundation pupils, along with several of her brothers and sisters. The feature of the original roll was a number of Maoris who mother, who was 6, I suppose, when the school opened, described as being young men. And so keen were the Maori families from the Horohoro, which is downriver from here, so keen were they to get the children into school that they used to bring them up and camp on these flats that we've stopped on here. The bridge, if I haven't already said so, this bridge is a newcomer. When we first came down here, we used to ford this creek. So the bridge wasn't built until sometime in the 30s, I would imagine. The Jones, the farm that my mother grew up on, is about a mile or two ahead of us here. And it has, the homestead site has a wonderful view of the sea. And Grandma tells a little tale of being sent up there to watch out for timber being rafted around from Whangarei. So the situation changed pretty quickly from pit sawing timber on the property to buying it in from sawmills at Whangarei. And it's interesting that the method of delivery was by sea, because of course roading was very primitive. We stopped a little earlier at the site of the Jones homestead at Tahiri, which was the end of the road, virtually the end of the road when I was born. My father, my uncle, had a contract for bringing the cream up from this area that we're in now and transferring it to motor lorries to go into Whangarei for making butter. And it wasn't until the late 30s that this road was good enough for school buses to travel on, and education was pretty severely curtailed, and education opportunities were pretty severely curtailed up until then. Grandma tells that originally their communication with the depot at Tahiri, the end of the road, was by means of a sledge. And for Christmas Day, for example, they would put the hay frame on the sledge and fill the sledge with a bit of hay, and the kids would, all dressed in their Sunday dress, would get onto the sleigh, and that would be driven by grandfather, no doubt in his best Sunday suit, stiff collar and all, and grandmother, riding side saddle, would make up the procession, and that's the way that they gathered for Christmas Day. After a few years, they were able to get a wheeled vehicle, a gig, two-wheeled vehicle, down to this flat area just behind us, and it used to stay down here under cover. But by the time in 1920, when Mum and Dad were married, they were able to go away by car, so it was still a pretty hazardous undertaking to making a journey by road. And when Jim and I were little fellows, and Mum and Dad would come down here to go to the beach, they would come so far with the wagonette, then I'd unhitch the horses and put saddle and bridle on them, take one boy each in front of them, and off we'd go to the beach for the day. Now, of course, you can drive into Whangarei if you can stand the dust in about 20 minutes. Now for your I think I missed the point about the story of the children being sent out to watch for the timber being rafted around from Whangarei. What it led on to was a recollection of grandmothers. The most exciting thing they saw was the American fleet, the Great White Fleet of 1909, sailing past. And at least one of those ships is still afloat. It's on the river at Philadelphia. Well, this is the site of the home that Grandma Harris grew up in. There were actually two houses on this farm originally. Two Jones brothers, one of whom pulled out and joined the railways, and no doubt had a much easier life. And Thomas and Jeanette stayed on, and Jeanette in fact died right here on this property. So this is the source of the timber for the Brimhaven School, and the view up there must be quite spectacular. Runs from here down to the river. Grandfather Jones had a launch, so there's a spot down there that was known to them as the landing. Fish featured largely on their diet. They used to run cows, make butter, but it was pretty much a subsistence existence in the early days. Well, here we are at Harris Road, named for my father, possibly as part of the deal for the county buying the last bit of land off him to complete the link through to Glenbervie. It's a nice tar-sealed road, been blacktopped for some years now, but I can remember during the winter my father was quite often out hauling cars that had got stuck in the mud, because the road had only been formed a year or two before I was born. The house is in approximately the same position that our original house was in. and the cow shed over on the bank of the creek, also in the same sort of position, although they've both been renewed. The original McKinnon homestead was up on that ridge there somewhere, and part of their orchard was still in position when I was a boy. The boundary fence runs along the hillsides over here to my left, and it was a dairy farm, and my parents were able to dramatically increase the production during the 10 years that they were here. One of the problems here was rabbits. Rabbits periodically became a real nuisance. They eat more than their share of the grass. And as very small boys, we used to make pocket money, mainly getting rabbits out of burrows. And of course, the bounty was paid by my father, not dead or alive, just for dead ones. So we had to dispatch them, catch them and dispatch them at a very young age. So that's possibly accounts for my violent nature. Over here on this side, across the road, my father used to grow oats, and I used to operate a reefer and binder with gaily painted wooden battens and a canvas arrangement to gather up the oats as they were cut and bound into sheaves and then made up into sticks, if I've still got the right terminology. So they were busy times. 1928, of course, the Kingsford Smith flew across the Tasman for the first time, and I think his first Pacific flight preceded that. So one of the early memories from here also is making models of the Southern Cross. We walked to school from here, not very far, but a cross-country walk, and one casualty. One stage my brother was run down by another pupil, a very large pupil, very dark pupil, on a horse. My father's health wasn't particularly good, and they were happy to move from here to a more elevated site on 3 Mile Bush Road in Carmo.
here on the cement.
No, it's in Vancouver. And I've already been in touch with a couple of mates, rough mates. And so Brown's going to get me into trouble, I can see that. I thought I better ring him and tell him I was coming before he... I'd rather... Yeah. I think Gilbert knows. Ross Brown, do you, Gilbert?
Very good.
That's a long line.
But it did take that long, did it? And this was the volcano there.
Got to keep the Japanese economy going.
There's that one with the infrared sensor.
Just make sure that we're both at the video. It's like better than we hit that here too. Oh, it's funny. Some of them are worse than others.
Put it back in. It's just that road.
I think Jim's just got a piece of rose.
Pretty well fed to me.
Is the sand around?
Smiling. Really good. like this way. Oh, sure. Thank you. Yes. What is the band? Playing on there with its mother? That was just like she sneak off and get a whole bunch of things. Well, I suppose it's not a silly idea. Yeah. Even a big bundle of whips and shells. You want to go in that one up there?
The lake's quite really with all the hot falls. This is your 3-hour sleep. Pretty cool. You have a little lobster too. Late. They were still talking about those teams. Yeah.
They're having a good
It was about 7 o'clock, I know. Just really in the last year, I don't even know, female.
personalities that we, you know, personalities used to do some sort of guy, didn't it? Did they do some tattoos?
The birds, their faces were very heavily tattooed.
My sister, my younger sister, did get a rose and put it on her shoulder last year. And then she decided she didn't want it anymore, so she had to take them off, but it wasn't taken off very well.
Go away. Go away, John. Go away, John.
Canberra case containing my cash card from yesterday. Not in that group. So you need to go back to
I don't know. Can you go find him?
Oh, okay. Was that coffee or tea?
Jump on. Ah! Jump. You're heavier than me. Jump on. I could see the Avalon. It's beautiful.
That's the city.
I was going around the corner when you were going around the other.
Good dog.
Come here. And you gotta come. It's big time discussion, negotiations. Right, so 1886.
Oh, I see.
1800 hours, right? Right, 1800s. Right. Meet back.
Yes, Robin.
It's always interesting to me how those things, those splitters just pop up. It's a sealed container. How did it pop up? Well, we've had a nice dinner. We've had our coffee, we've had our tea. No, we haven't. We ate all the strawberries and all the asparagus. Oh. All right, scene one, take two. 19. John always drives
I'll script it.
No, don't.
Double head race! It's gonna pull!
That makes a good song. What do you mean choose? Well, this is going to get
Vacuum
poured
tubes.
down. Oh! Did you know your children were blowing up the television set? Yeah.
Go and get them out there, baby.
That was some of the best.
That's sugar. It's not sodium. Oh,
High-powered.
the dogs love this. Oh, I've been through New Zealand. But I was in the States. She was in trunks. We had his hair boots. It wasn't me.
No, of course it wasn't. How could it be? This is a old toothless grin there. Okay, how are we doing in this cupboard over here?
Copy of this. Send it to my
Mousetrap.
Yeah.
This is one that you were using.
Please, turn them.
Oh no. Over here, Don. Sit in the sand.
This one came close. I put it on the same one in the fridge. And does that one still have food? No, put them together.
Just short. You might make this.
It'll still white. Quick and it'll be white. Get in the control bunker, man. I'm lighting. Donna! No! Donna! Donna, what is that?
Too short, but it's too short. It's actually good.
Shot!
There you go. You get this.
Just let John do it. Let John, you'll have your head blown off. You were still a bit too busy.
Going.
Go! Oh, John, go ahead. Is that a duck? John,
Warm.
Yeah.
Chris.
Alright. May your batteries go flat.
May your batteries go flat. That's like Irma Bombeck saying, smart this. We need a blanket for Chris, so she won't wake up and bother the girl. Oh, blankets.
A blanket. I got 50 here. Chris, Candace.
very hazy. You see it? It's very hard to see. No, it is quiet because it's very hazy. It's very quiet. Now White Island is New Zealand's most active volcano. I'll tell you what you can do though, for example, is you can, over here, over here. Let's have a bit of a conference session. Right. Okay.